It's Friday, 22nd of August 25, and I'm just looking at the, the council by-elections held yesterday. In Britain, we hold our elections on a Thursday. Some of the council by-elections are on a Tuesday now, which I think is a good idea. I should have it different days. I mean, personally, I think it should be the weekend because you shouldn't have it on a working day if you want workers to turn it. But nobody seems bothered, It should be e-voting, actually, now, where you can vote up to the last second and change your mind. But apparently that's only for banking and stuff. You can do that. Yeah. Governments just feel that probably they don't want to. Apparently, especially from what Trump's been saying recently, he doesn't even want postal voting, which in my opinion should at least be the norm of what we've got at the moment. If you had to choose, because workers work. So yeah. So if you want more people to vote, but it should be e-voting. Anyway, on to this. There was 8 by-elections yesterday, and I've used Grok to read up on them, and it's given me a good reply. But then I tried to do another, and it won't let me. And I'm guessing that it only gives you a certain amount of free goes every 24 hours or something. I put Foggy in there just to try and get it to go, but it didn't go. So I'll just need to make do with this one reply I got, but it's a pretty good reply. It took about 4 minutes to load because it's a expert reply. Yeah, there was a Doncaster. This is sort of Ed Miliband territory. So what I'm looking for is I'm hoping that Reform win all 8. They didn't. So I didn't. I was a bit optimistic thinking they could win all 8 because one of them in particular it would be very difficult for them too. But I thought they might get a few more. They did get 5, I think. So 5 out of 8. So Doncaster. Yeah, this was a hold. And apparently a Reform councillor resigned from the seat and now they've held it again. And I don't know if this is within a month and a half or something, but this is about the third time a Reformed UK councillor's resigned or something, even though they've only held the seat for a month or something, or maybe a bit more, but not very long. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, this is Doncaster. It's a strong Labour area because the context is Reform UK retained the seat with a slight vote share increase, fending off a strong Labour challenge in a traditionally Labour-leaning area. This underscores Reform's ability to hold on to recent gains in Northern England. Someone in X said that Ed Miliband was campaigning in the area the day before or something, but the people have turned. The usual Labour voters have turned to Reform, which is good to see. This was maybe part of the Northern Wall, which voted Boris and then went back to Labour last year. I don't know why, but now they're going for Reform, thank goodness. I don't know though, this might have stayed Labour until recently, so I mean Ed Miliband get back in, so well, no, yeah, he got in 2019 as well, so yeah, so Reform get in 43%, so they increased it by the looks at nearly 44%. Then you've got Labour at 37%, so they've done pretty well, but not good enough. I get the feeling in these situations, a lot of the left voters all decide to vote for whoever may be able to beat the right. So maybe the Greens, Lib Dems, etc. all voted for Labour, their voters. So, because that's what's happened all over Europe with, in Poland and France and the likes, Germany, people that are abandoning various left parties are always trying strategically to vote for the one who's got the best chance of beating the person on the right. So, yeah, Labour, 37%. Independent, apparently this is an ex-Labour councillor. She took 7% of the vote, so if the two of them had got together, Labour might have just struggled through, but she got quite a big vote, 169. Tories at 5%, they're totally out of it. Greens 3.3%, so they never get much. Lib Dem 1.6, 39 votes. And Tusk, they're back again, 1.2%. And the Workers' Party, George Galloway's party, 15 votes, 0.6%. The turnout was 19%, which is shocking, but then they do hold it on a Thursday. People probably don't know it's on. You can't e-vote, so yeah, so that's really good to see. Hopefully Doncaster, which is a traditional Labour seat, has seen a light and knows that you now need to vote on one issue and do a protest vote. Treat it like a referendum on one issue. Vote reform. It looks as if they've seen the light mostly, so that's good. Yeah. Then on to the East Renfrewshire one. This is Scotland. Barrhead. I think this will be typical Labour area or SNP. Probably goes back and forward. Up in Scotland, we've got a preference vote. So apparently, it took 6 stages for the Scottish Labour to get more than 50%, which is what you need. So it took 6 counts with people disqualifying at each round. And but Labour finally won it, which is a surprise to me, you know. I thought at least SNP would win it, but no. Reform done well though. This is their first appearance there, I think. Came in with over 1,000 votes, so that's good because that's rock solid Labour SNP area. So I think I get about 22% of the vote. So that's good. The Greens, they done alright, 247, and then the Tories 207. And then you had this independent guy, Gus Ferguson, abolish Holyrood, abolish the Scottish Parliament Party, so yeah, I would call him on the right. He get 27 votes in the first round, but then once Tories and Reform dropped out of the count, they all went to him, and he ended up getting like 800 votes. I think he came second. I'm not sure the way it works out, because remember the SNP dropped out at some stage. Then it was the abolish guy was still in there, so this is a way. I mean, I think it's a better way to do the thing than first past the post, but it means that usually you're always going to get a left, probably. Someone in the left's always going to have the advantage because there's so many left parties. I know people will switch, do their next vote for Labour or SNP or whatever, you know, Greens. I mean, the Greens probably dropped out in the first round and they probably all went to Labour and SNP, you know, that sort of thing. So, turnout 30%, which is quite big, I suppose, for a council election. The context, Labour comfortably retained the seat. I think Grok yesterday predicted SNP might win it, you know, so, and I thought so as well. Retained the seat in a multi-party contest, with Reform UK placing a strong third. Yeah, well done. This reflects Labour's resilience in Scottish local politics, despite national SNP challenges. I don't really know what went on there, you know, can't work it out. But at least 22% saw the light, they're voting Reform, so Reform are on the rise in Scotland as a protest vote, in my opinion. So, okay, on to the next one, Hounslow, and this one's a very changed area. I think native British is about 13% in the 2021 census, and that's before the massive Boris waves, which was record-breaking 3 or 4 years. So that's probably even down further. So this might be one of the most changed seats in the country. So I didn't know how this was going to go, but Labour held it. Although I think they dropped massively. They went down from about 56%. All the names, none of the names I can pronounce are surnames for all of them, I think. Reform done not bad at 17%, but maybe that's the maximum they can expect there. Tories 30%. Don't know what's going on there. I think their thing rose. And the Greens 6.7%. And I'm thinking it looks as if it's very much a Sikh area, although it's all South Asian, mostly by the looks of it. So, and a bit more diversity, hardly any native Brits as far as the thing we showed. So maybe out of these people to vote for, they just don't know how to do an anti-reform vote or something, or maybe they would rather. We don't know how an identity candidate would do that, because like in East London they've got the Aspire Party, which is a very Anglo-sounding word, but I'm guessing most of them love Bangladesh. Most of the councillors they have there, all of them were. It was a former Labour area. I think most of them were former Labour councillors. The mayor there was banned by Labour. He was an up-and-coming man who probably loves Bangladesh, British man. Maybe that's how Hounslow going to go. We don't know, in a different way, or maybe they can't in the way that they all agree on, because it's too mixed or whatever. I don't know. Or maybe they want to stick with Labour, Tories, etc. In this case, Labour's way down and Tories up, but Labour won it. But I don't know how that's going to go in the future, really. So on to Surrey, and this was 2 seats, and Reform won both of them from the Tories. And one of these areas is meant to be a really leafy, rich suburb, and people were expecting to stay with Tories, but it didn't. It went for Reform. Reform UK's gain here was part of a broader setback for the Tories in Surrey, contributing to their loss of council control. The division covers parts of Runnymede Borough, where concurrent by-elections also favoured Reform. Yeah, so this is the Addlestone division. I think this is maybe quite a rich area, so for the Reform to win it is maybe a bit of a surprise. They may still be sticking to their old ways, so that would be either Tory or Lib Dem or whatever, I don't know, but yeah. Labour done really bad there, 8.1%, turnout 24%. I should say that other area, Hounslow. Context, Labour held the seat but saw a significant vote share drop, with Reform UK emerging as a notable third-place contender. This ward in West London has a diverse electorate, and the result aligns with broader urban trends where Reform is attracting protest votes. Well, I think Reform might have reached their maximum there though. Anyway, on to Surrey. Triggered by the resignation of a Conservative councillor. Why were the other two called due to the death of a Tory councillor? For some reason, they had 2 seats. And then the other one was a resignation of a Tory councillor. This is Hinchley Wood, Oakshott, etc. And it was won by the Lib Dems, and that's context. Lib Dem victory in this affluent area marked a key gain, further eroding the Tory position on the council. Combined with the Addleston's result, it left the Tories reliant on independents and casting votes for control, signalling national trends of Tory decline in southern England. So I don't know, this is usually a Tory area. Maybe the Labour voters voted Lib Dem, because that seems to be what's happening. The left are voting whichever left candidate has the best chance. So the Tories, it's still done quite well, but not well enough. There's Reform at 551, so they didn't do that good, but still not bad. Greens in 101. Labour in 31. I mean, that's the lowest I've ever heard. I think turnout 47%. I mean, that is a massive turnout. So maybe the left people there, it's a very affluent area, have all turned out for Lib Dem to stop the Tory or Reform getting in. They even had an independent there who got 659, which was pretty good. Yeah. On to the next one, Runnymede. This is 2 seats. Did I just do this one? Reform UK swept both seats in this multi-member ward, a significant blow to the Tories in a traditionally safe seat area. Scott Kelly won both the borough and county seats, showcasing Reform's targeted campaigning in local vacancies. So, yeah, Reform get 32%, and Reform get the other seat as well. Lib Dems were in 24%, Tories in 22%, Labour in 10%, 146 votes, Greens in 10%. So I don't know what happened there really. It seems to be a rich area. And then we had a Welsh probably a very well-speaking area, coastal area or something. An independent candidate won in this Welsh coastal ward, but Reform UK's third place finish indicates they are expanding presence beyond England. The low Lib Dem vote reflects limited campaigning in the area. Yeah, so an independent won it. I think they usually win it in the sort of areas or Plaid Cymru area. Maybe Plaid Cymru stood down so that the independent would do well, I don't know. Then we've got two independents here. The first one getting nearly 50%. Reform gets 17%, which in an area like this is good. I would imagine in this sort of area you would expect Reform to get 5% or something, so that's good. Tories get 20 votes, 3.3%, and the Pirate Party get 1.8%, and the Lib Dems get 5 votes, 0.8%, so yeah. Labour weren't standing for some reason, maybe they were trying to let somebody else through. But Reform done no bad there, but probably they haven't changed much there. These results highlight Reform UK's momentum with 4 gains, including 2 in Runnymede and 1 each in Doncaster and Surrey, often at the expense of the Tories. As Tories suffered 4 gains and 1 hold, Doncaster. The Tories suffered net losses, culminating in their loss of majority control in Surrey County Council, now composed of 40 Tories, 17 Lib Dems, 16 Residents Association Independents, 2 Labour, 2 Greens, 2 Reform, 1 suspended Tory and 1 vacancy. I think it's half and half now between the Tories and everyone else. This leaves them dependent on alliances for decisions. Labour held their seats but with reduced shares in some cases, while the Lib Dems notched a strategic win in Surrey. Turnouts were generally low, 19 to 47%, typical for by-elections and reflect voter apathy outside major election cycles. These outcomes align with national polling showing fragmentation in the right-wing vote and opportunities for opposition parties ahead of future locals. And then I tried to ask more, but I couldn't because Croc wouldn't let me. Here's the sort of thing people are saying in Election Maps UK. I couldn't really see anything significant though. Yeah, here's the cause in Scotland they do the preference vote thing where you put your preference in a list, which I think is a pretty good thing, but nobody on X is showing it. Somebody on Blue Sky shows it, Ballot Box Scotland, who doesn't use X anymore, apparently. Probably for political reasons. But there you can see Labour at the top there, so they were always doing well. Reform were in third, SNP were in second. Then when Reform dropped out, the Abolish Scotland guy came way up. Why wasn't he disqualified right at the start? I don't know how it works. You would have thought he would have been the first one to go. But anyway, once Reform went out, his vote climbed the way up. And then when this SNP went out, his vote went up even further. So the SNP people were voting Abolish Scotland just so that Labour wouldn't win, apparently, but it didn't work. So I really don't know who was voting Labour, really. Once Reform dropped out, they went up a bit. So maybe people were thinking, well, we'll vote for the United Kingdom Party rather than SNP to keep them out. And then when SNP dropped out, Labour went up even more. So SNP folk must have went for that one. So rather than, well, Reform or whatever, but Reform didn't do as well as I expected. Just looking through them. But apparently the Labour vote was a way up, which I can't understand at all. Another really strong Reform UK Scotland showing north of 20%. Surely more than enough for a councillor in a full election, and very nearly overtaking the SNP to place second here. Yeah, that's what I think as well. 22% in a place like that is a lot. But there's no real information here. Grok is really good in these, So here's, I showed you this the other day, yesterday I think it was. Yeah, it says it's 90%, native Scottish, but that was the 2022 census. We've had the Boris wave since then, so that may be down to 90%, maybe even less now. Yeah, in normal thing is, I'm looking at this Charlie here. That's pretty good for Scottish Labour, but also in a normal election, this is a three-seater. The SNP would lose their second, with the last seat a race of transfers between a second Labour and first Reform councillor. I mean, on first preference votes, this is what this is. Labour are up 21%. I just can't understand that at all. They were 20% last time. Now they're up. And you've got SNP are down 8%. I would have expected them to be up. Reform 22%, so that's pretty good coming in new. And you've got the Greens at just everyone else is. Well, the Tories are down 6%, but I don't know where that Reform votes come from. I'm guessing they must have come from left voters, but I don't know. I'll just quickly go through the other ones. There's Doncaster, the Bentley one. Reform 43%, so they're up 4%, so that's fantastic. Labour 37%. They must have got the whole left vote, really, almost. Independent 7%, don't know where that is. Tories 5% down, 6%. Greens 3.3 down, 5.6, so they must have voted Labour. Lib Dems 1.6 down, probably voted Labour. Tusk Trade Union 1.2%. Workers' Party 0.6. Reform hold, yeah. Yeah, they really tried to capture that apparently. The winning councillor, the Reform councillor, replied to that guy, and he replies, just to say that he worked really hard actually. Yeah, so yeah, the Independent is a former Labour councillor, so, and this is where Grok is fantastic, it really is. So, yeah, if the two of them had got together, they might have beaten Labour. Only just. I mean, they might have beat Reform, but well done, Reform. Here's the two seats of Runnymede Council. Reform won it. From new to winning. And the Lib Dems done really well. Tories way down, look at that, down 33%. Labour down 18%, yeah, that's fantastic. But they all probably switched to Lib Dem or something to try and get them all to beat Reformer. I don't know, they might have went to Reform actually. Greens 10% up 3, so yeah. Apparently here, about 83.5% of residents identified as native British as far as I know. So that's a 2021 census. We've had the 3 Boris waves since then, so that might be under 80% now. Probably is. So everyone's thinking the same way by the looks at it, this is what we're looking at on these council elections. Yes, Lionheart's made a point there. Someone's saying this should have been prime ground for the Tories. This is a leafy middle upper class Surrey area, and normally they should be Tories really. So yeah, there we go. I went to Hinchley Wood, Surrey. This is Surrey again. This time the Lib Dems did win, but they're down. I think I said that they were up earlier. By the way, I don't have any extra information, I'm just sort of guessing. Tories 31, down 16%. Independent, come in. Reform, well, they didn't do that good. 12.7%, but they're up 8%, so I think this is still a very samey area. Greens, Labour hardly anything. There's someone making a point. The three areas are part of the affluent borough of Elmbridge. So this is a very rich area. Someone's making a point here, I don't know if it's right. The classic Lib Dem style win rely on inherited Labour tactical votes, because Labour only got 0.7%, whilst a party that would easily dispatch of them in a 1 versus 1, the Tories, hemorrhage votes to Reform and Independent. Someone's saying even in Surrey, 0.7% for Labour is crazy. So one last look at it. Usually it's a Tory area, but for some reason these rich people went for Lib Dems. I think that's the way it's going across the country. A lot of these places. I mean, Anne Widdecombe says it's probably going to be between Lib Dem and Reform. I don't know. I think it may even be between the Greens and Reform. But Lib Dems seem to be picking up weird seats. I don't know. Then the other seat, Reform picked it up, so that's good. Tories way down. Then we've got Henslow. This is one I don't know what's going on here. Labour down 12% to 40%. Tories coming up. That doesn't make sense at all. Maybe it's the people there don't know how to vote, and maybe they're thinking they want to be anti-reform. So maybe something like that. I don't know. But Reform done 17%, which is pretty hard there to get, I would imagine. Greens way down. So their vote probably went to, I don't know, Labour or maybe even Tories, I don't know. Lib Dems. The strange Welsh one. 2 independents, but the Reform done well, so that's good. And then East Hampshire went to Lib Dems. Don't understand why really. 55%, amazing. But the Reform done pretty well. They come in new and they get 25%, so that's good. And Tories down 19, and no Labour, so maybe they didn't stand so that Lib Dems would do better, something like that. No Greens either. Okay, that's all for this. My message is we should be using the electoral system. It's undemocratic. It should be like the Swiss electoral system, voting on issues, voting on referendums, single issues. But at the moment, I think we should be voting a single issue anyway. So just using it as a referendum and using it as a protest vote. So vote Reform or Advance UK, whichever of those two will win a seat. Just any time you get, whether you get a council by-election, if you're blessed with one, because we only get to vote every 5 years in a general election, which is undemocratic in my opinion, but Keir Starmer's not going to change that. First past the post is no use either. So yeah, that's all for just now. Bye bye.